recently came across an article that read, "America the Anxious." The subheader read, "Americans are spending a fortune on finding happiness and becoming less happy in the process." I learned that Americans spend more time, emotional energy, and money in the quest for happiness than any country on earth. The packaging and selling of happiness, an estimated $10 billion industry. Happiness is a great feeling, don't get me wrong. I look for happiness all the time, doing yoga, traveling, fine dining, live music. But happiness from these activities can be so fickle and fleeting. The article made me wonder, why do we put so much effort looking for such a futile feeling? And is there lasting happiness that's sustainable? In this rabbit hole vortex, I was reminded of a quote that I fell in love with in university by Emerson. And he said, "The purpose of life is not to be happy. It is to be useful, to be honorable, to have made a difference that you have lived and lived well." I was 19 at the time, and this quote right here sparked me on a long internal journey of searching for my own purpose. I believe that life with intended purpose is the foundation of lasting happiness. The simple definition for purpose is a reason for which something is done, created, or exists. For a brief moment, I want you to consider your own happiness. Is it derived from purpose and meaning? When you make your goals every day, is it an outgrowth of your purpose? What legacy are you trying to leave behind? I want to take you on a very short excursion of how I discovered my purpose, and hopefully that will shed light on how just fulfilling this process can be. I also want to share the formula of how to discover your own purpose and how to get started. The journey always starts with your family of origin. It tells you of your nature and your worldview according to your environment. We may not control our DNA, but we do have innate characteristics that come from our genetic makeup and how we were nurtured. I define nature as genetic, hormone-based behaviors, traits, and dispositions. And nurture is your environment, culture, and experience. My parents were refugees from Laos to the US after the Vietnam War. My father, from being a prestigious lieutenant fighter pilot in the Royal Lao Air Force, became a factory worker making minimum wage overnight in San Diego. I grew up in Section 8 housing, and I had two silent values in my family: survival and fear. I was born into the residual effects of post-war trauma and a lifestyle of gangs and violence. I dated men in and out of prison. That was my norm. In order to survive, I built up emotional walls and a really tough exterior. And to add to this darkness, if it weren't already enough, I was sexually abused when I was 5 years old. That really messes you up in the head. Instead of playing with Barbie dolls or considering nail polish colors, I was thinking why I should even live. What is the point of living? They were seeds of suicidal thoughts at that time, but they were also the catalyst of deep self-reflection. Finding your purpose starts with understanding your family of origin, knowing your parents' stories, your parents' parents' stories, observing your own pattern of behavior. What are your triggers? How do you react in difficult situations? What brings you immense joy, and how do you feel valued? If I could sum up my own identity statement today, I would say this: I am Lao. I am Asian American. I am a daughter of God. I am loved. I am kind. I'm resilient. I'm beautiful. I'm a visionary, and I am imperfect. Who you are is your self-identity, the way you look at the world, and where you position yourself accordingly. Understanding this, solidifying your identity, allows you to become who you actually want to be. Another component of purpose requires you to be in touch with your feelings, to discover your dreams and passions. I define dreams as an inspiring picture that energizes your mind, will, and emotions, empowering you to do whatever it takes to achieve it. And passions, an extravagant fondness, enthusiasm for something you desire. Passion is a very deep and intense feeling. It fuels your dreams. But without a dream, your passion is aimless. Therefore, you have no purpose, said Dr. Francis Kong. Growing up, I was very fortunate that my parents let me do whatever activity I requested. So I did 4 years of martial arts. I was in choir. I flew planes. I logged in 32 hours in a Cessna. I went to fashion school. I went to law school. And it was in each of these situations, whether I was getting beat up in Taekwondo or almost crashed my plane twice, I learned something about myself. I learned what I hated. I learned what I loved, what makes me nervous, and what makes my heart flutter. The main point here is to do more of what you love and to allow yourself to think outside of the box. These ideas may not become your ultimate dreams, but they do lead you in the right direction. The trick is to act on these zany ideas in a way that still honors your morals and your values. Honor your dreams because they were put in your heart for a purpose. One of my latest fantasies, guess what it is? Okay, don't say it. I want to go hunting and surfing in South Africa, but not at the same time. And one of my oldest dreams has always been to help Laos, which is my parents' native country. So one day, I left my cushy tech job in San Francisco and I moved to Laos. From 2014 and 2017, I worked in a communist country. I ran a record label and a media company. I contributed to the country's economic development. It was there that I became a global shaper and represented Laos at the World Economic Forum. It was there, in the midst of one of my dreams, that BBC asked to do a feature article on my life. You just never know where your dreams and passions will lead you. So tell me, what are you passionate about? What are those activities? What childhood dreams did you have before someone told you they were impossible? Because locked away in those childhood dreams are imaginations and fantasies before the consequences of failure. Our fantasies, no matter how absurd, are our deepest desires. In your quest to uncover your dreams and passions, I want you to pay attention to what you feel connected with, excited, positive, and passionate. They are the breadcrumbs to finding out your purpose. The last key ingredient is derived from my favorite Latin quote, "Scil te ipsum." It means to know thyself. I was just at a Voice AI conference a few days ago for work, and one of the keynote speakers was Nick Schwab. He's an Alexa champion and created the Alexa skill, Sleep Sounds. Story goes, Nick moved into a new apartment and the neighbors upstairs were just making a ruckus, from like dogs barking to like babies crying. And he had tinkered with failed skills before. This time he decided to create one to put himself to sleep. And within a year of launching this skill, with the profits he made, he bought himself a Tesla. Today, his skill gets 350 million Lambda requests a month. What really shocked me during his keynote is he started with a slide about his traits. And it wasn't because he was narcissistic or anything, but it dawned on me he's a successful entrepreneur, not just because he capitalized on a new technology, but the dude knew himself. He knew his strengths and his weaknesses. He was able to capitalize on his strengths and find people to help him with his weaknesses. Once you discover your dreams and passions, knowing your strengths and weaknesses will help you get there. To begin to process your own self-discovery, take some time, sit with yourself. Make a list of your talents, skills, and your greatest areas of knowledge. Ask yourself, what strengths have assisted you the most? What seems easy for you to learn and to do? What have you mastered? What abilities account for your biggest success? And what part of your job do you do better than anyone else? But that's not enough. You also need to be okay with your weakness. It is equally important to know them. You got to list out parts of your character that you don't like. They're there. And if you don't know what they are, ask your friends and your family. I'm pretty sure they've had lots of complaints. Ask them questions like, hey, if you could change one thing about me, what would it be? It sucks to listen to it, but you can't grow without it. You know what's great about this process? It never ends. Because as humans, we're evolving. We're constantly growing, changing our mindset. I've sat down with myself countless times to write down traits, and I have ascertained that I'm a visionary. I love to start and do things that haven't been done. I'm great at debating, surviving, and fighting. I'm a storyteller who can combine art with results. My weakness, I am so not diplomatic. And I'm not much of a team player because I always default to leading. I suck at math. I can't memorize things like this talk. And if you want a detail-oriented person, go elsewhere. So I just shared with you my personal stories of my nature, my nurture, my strengths and weaknesses and dreams and passions. Well, voila. It is the formula I've created to help you discover your purpose. This intentional journey starts with an internal discovery of who you are, that which is your identity. The article I mentioned earlier about Americans looking for happiness, becoming unhappy, well, that doesn't surprise me. The more outward we look for our purpose, the more disconnected from it we feel. Because it's based on the false belief that our purpose is somewhere outside of us, when really it's an outgrowth of who we are. After many years of self-discovery and internal deep reflections, I can confidently share with you today my purpose, which is to find beauty in dark places. You see, it's not a career, it's not a vocation. It is the essence of who I am and what I will always do, even if you drop me off in the middle of Antarctica. I find beauty. I find beauty in the life story of an ex-convict. I find beauty in the life of war-torn families. I find beauty in poor villages in developing countries. I find beauty in the story of a rape victim. When my purpose collides with an opportunity, I share stories of hope, faith, and love on Sharing Amy. Finding your life purpose doesn't mean that you are doing one act or having one career. It means that you are situated in the world and you relate to it in a way that has meaning. Whatever you want, whatever dream you have, it is already inside of you. You are the one you've been waiting for. So I hope you don't live another minute without knowing your life's purpose. Thank you.